Hi!
I'm Alisa.
Hi, I'm Marge, and welcome to MediterrAsian podcast. So today is our episode 2, number 2 already.
Already?
Yes,
Oh my
oh my
God.
god, I hope there's gonna be like 200. But yeah, let's focus on the 2. So today we would like to deep dive on our inspirations, how we got here, how podcast change and changing our lives. I think it's very interesting, so I would like to talk about it. We actually prepared some questions to help us tell a better story. So I would like to just jump right into it. Ali, when did you start listening to the podcast, and what or who is the podcast that you listen to?
I started listening to podcasts roughly 2 years ago because a lot of people around me were listening to them. I thought to give it a try and see what it was all about. I always listened to music when I was doing chores, if I was sporting, or if I was just chilling at home. Music was always in my ear. I started to give it a try. It was a bit of a trial and error kind of phase for me. A podcast was not an immediate love. I started listening to more career-based podcasts, basically experts talking about
Because it's more necessary than it's more of a need than a want, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For me, it started in that way, more on, I need to listen to something that's it's educational. Yeah. That's what podcast should be. That was my
that's
initial
true. Yeah.
my initial idea of what a podcast was. I started listening to podcasts while I was commuting, a bit with the idea of doing this in a productive way. So listening to podcasts must be also doing it in a productive way, basically. Sometimes to make it even more efficient, I was listening to some podcasts in Dutch.
Just pushing all the efficiency.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
So I thought, well, let's make it even more productive by listening to podcasts in a language that I wanted to get better at. Mm-hmm. So I must admit that in the beginning I wasn't truly loving it.
But wait, did it help you though? The language, because I just wanted to know, because it might help me too. Yeah,
I think a bit, yes. I mean, I could follow, so that was nice. But I think while you listen to a podcast, at the end of the day, it is a bit more energy draining.
Yeah, that's true.
I must
you're
say.
Always on.
Exactly. Yeah, you need to give it 100% your concentration. Besides listening to what the podcast is about, also in a different language. So that was a bit more energy draining. So for me, the love for podcasts slowly built up to what it is today, where I listen to podcasts almost on a daily basis. Still, while I'm commuting, when I'm on my bike, I like to put a podcast on and listen to it. And sometimes also when I sport. Funny thing, actually, I also find myself laughing at myself, by myself, not at myself, maybe also at myself, laughing by myself when I listen to some funny bits on my headphones while I'm sporting, so people might think that I'm a bit weird, but well. And now podcasts that I listen to, they span from the more coaching type of podcast to podcasts more on the lifestyle. Some of the podcasts that I listen to, Jay Shetty, Mel Robbins, or Tutte le volte che, which is an Italian podcast. So this is a bit where I'm at now. What about you? What is your story with the podcast? How did you start?
I guess it's the same as you. I was never really into podcasting. I don't know what podcasting before or during COVID, as far as I know. That's when I discovered Jay Shetty, because I think everyone, especially me, is just bored. We're just trying to do something productive or something, I don't know, something to put ourselves in the misery of, I don't know, COVID, being bored and everything.
Definitely, COVID was not a fun time.
No. So yeah, indeed, there's always, every day, there's always this need for me to, I need to find something else. I need to know something new that I didn't know. That's where I discovered Jay Shetty. Funny enough, I didn't know him through his work. I didn't know who he is. I just know about him because he was a life coach for Hollywood celebrities. So it's kind of also like, I don't know who he is. I just always see him on television or in social media that he's always with some actor. So I'm like, okay, so this guy might have something to say. So that's how I knew him. So it's really an on and off kind of relationship, I must say. When everything was opened back after COVID, I stopped with podcasting because, again, I'm not bored anymore, I guess.
Yeah, you have plenty of things to do outside.
I've asked also, everyone is just excited to go out and just do things again with someone. So it stopped for a bit and then got back to it when I moved to the Netherlands, which is 3 years ago. Again, through Jay Shetty this time, but also looking it in a different perspective now. Because now I'm older, I kind of know or a little bits of what I wanted. You wanted to hear some kind of inspiration or uplifting kind of spirits or talks from someone who kind of know what they're doing. So I think that's the two perspective that I had with Jay Shetty. But I wanted to share something that is a little bit, for me, it's interesting. Before podcasting, when I was maybe 19 or 20, I was really into this one radio show in the Philippines and back home. So it always airs late at night, maybe at midnight or something. And the premise is that the listeners will just call the DJ or the radio personality and ask for advice regarding their love situations, their relationship situations. And this is not about your typical, oh, my girlfriend and I had an argument, I want to win her back, this and that. No. It's really like, oh, I'm sleeping with my boss and his assistant is my husband. That kind of thing. It's a little bit wonky, the stories, but it's just so real as well. And to me, at that time, it's just so funny to me because in my head, I was so young, and in my head, I was like, what are these adults doing? Like, what the hell? And it is a kind of funny show in a sense that the host is just giving them a slap in your face kind of advice.
Wow.
But yeah, it's just like, yeah, because also it's really not for, it's really for mature listeners, because there's no excuse about this kind of behavior and whatnot, and then the host makes sure that you know that. So, but yeah, it's just, to me, it's not podcasting really, but I think that's where the idea of listening to something kind of sparked in me. Like, oh, actually not seeing, because people are very visual, right? And I think
definitely.
at that time, that's where it started. Like, oh, actually, I can be entertained just by listening. So to me, it was just a very, very funny memory. I don't know if it's still airing, but it was just...
And still the ability to make it interesting when there's no visuals, right?
Yeah.
So catch the attention of the listeners.
And to me, it's just, I think the whole hook of it all is just how genuine it was. Because again, it's radio, and it could be very boring very easily, because again, there's nothing to see, there's not much to do, there's no background music whatsoever. These are just two people talking. But how the genuine story comes out, it's just so interesting that I was like, oh, okay, wait, you know what? I want to know more. Yeah, that to me is the memory of podcasting or listening. So for me, I would like to go to the next one.
Yes, podcasts. Usually people in certain life stages or ages or situations start listening to podcasts. What was your story?
To me, I guess with earlier story that I just mentioned, it really depends on my mood. Also depends on my age. Depends on the situation that I'm in at that moment. Because when I found Jay Shetty, I found him in a totally different lens. I have this idea that he's just famous, period. It was a very immature thinking, because I don't know his work, that he could actually change people's lives, with the radio show. To me, it's just purely entertainment. But now, I guess, as I grow older, yes,
30s.
So I guess the reasons are changing as well. It could be, one, I needed to hear someone tell me that I'm doing fine, especially moving abroad or living abroad alone. It's just, you need all the pep talk you can get. Podcast is a one way for me to get that. Second, it could be just I'm genuinely interested, or there's always a need for me to learn something new. Then I would go through a podcast, not just reading a book or whatnot. Podcast is now a form of information or to get some knowledge. Or three, it could just be, again, out of entertainment. I'm bored. I want to put something in the background. I want to hear something that I don't have to be active. As we said earlier, some educational podcasting, you always have to be on. But there are also times that, you know what, I just want to hear something or someone laugh or tell me a story or whatever.
And there are so many podcasts out there nowadays.
Yeah.
So there's one for every taste.
Yeah, exactly. And what about you?
Yeah, for me, well, podcasts, there are so many out there. The push for me to try to start listening to podcasts was coming from a place where I wanted to really improve myself, to become the best version of myself. And that's where it came from, really like starting to listening to something that is useful, that can help me, where I can learn something, and possibly to pass on the knowledge that I get from the podcast to other people, or to enrich my conversation with somebody, and maybe it can help somebody else. So that's a bit where my story with podcasts began as well.
For you, it's all about also sharing the knowledge. You're very, very active with that. Also, just
try my best. Also there to make my time useful, right?
the next one, as we said in the intro, we were also gonna talk about how did podcasts, the entirety of it, actually change and changing our lives. So for you, Alisa, how did podcasts change or changing your life right now?
Podcasts, I have to say that because of the podcasts that I listen to are both from a coaching sphere and lifestyle. Staying on the coaching sphere, I would say that they're making me reflect more on various topics, and also the dynamics that are happening around me. That is something that definitely they're doing, as well as they're making me feel less alone when it comes to topics where I thought that I was the only one struggling with. But actually there are so many other people, listeners, struggling with that. So it's a common struggle sometimes. And that is making me feel indeed less alone. So that's also something that they're helping me with. What about you?
To me, as simple and broad as this podcast helped me gain or boost my confidence. It's not the kind of confidence of putting myself out there or like presentation in front of your boss or anything. Not that kind of way. Confidence in a sense that when I move abroad, I had this idea that life would be better. And then when I realized it was not, I really struggled with that. I really went to a very dark place, and I struggle, like I feel like I'm alone, like why do I feel this way and all that. Podcasts like Jay Shetty and Mel Robbins kind of just reminded me that, hey, whatever you're feeling, we're feeling it too. That people also go through dark situations, dark places in their lives, and they get through it.
You're not alone.
Yeah, exactly. So those podcasts kind of reminded me like, hey, you know what? You don't have to be stuck. You can do something about it to get out of that dark place. Also now, in a present view, podcast is changing my life right now in a sense that I look about life differently now. That, for example, podcasts like Bad Friends. It's a comedy podcast. It's supposed to be a comedy podcast. And indeed, it makes me laugh and, all the works. But to me, it's inspiring and also a boost of confidence in a sense that it started when there's only just two guys in, I don't know what it is, but it's just an office. It was an empty office. They're just talking about COVID at that time. They were bored. They didn't know what to do. There's a lot of uncertainty because their jobs is stand-up comedians. So they don't know what's going to happen, what's the future. To the transition of now, they have over 1 million subscribers. They're still doing it at the same office, now with full of gifts from their fans. So it's kind of a boost of confidence in me that says like, oh, actually, if these people can do it, I can also do it. It's not that it looks so easy, but the point is that if they can put in the hard work, so it means I can also put in the hard work and it will get better. So it's not necessarily have the same goal of getting 1 million subscriber, but it's just the idea that, oh, if these two comedians can do it, I can also do it from my bedroom, from, I don't know, using my own talent and whatnot.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yes, indeed. But you just have to be, I don't know. I think as I grow older, I really try to romanticize my life in every simple or small thing. And maybe for some people, it's a bit of a stretch, coming from a comedy podcast. And now you're telling me it's inspiring and all of that. But to me, I really try my best to romanticize my life because first, who will? Who else will? I will. I have to. Nobody, exactly. And then and secondly, it's really about perspective. I am a type of person that could easily find the negative in things, and that I know it's really bad. So romanticizing life in general kind of helps me to see the beauty in it, as cliche as it sounds. So yeah, that to me.
Nice. Definitely very interesting. And how did this podcast came into play?
As you mentioned, our inspirations, we've been talking, we're telling his name so much, Jay Shetty, Mel Robbins, we're telling their name so much. So I think we started, at that moment, we were starting to listen to their episodes. We even recommended episodes that are like, hey, Ali, I think this one fit you very much on our certain situation at that moment, professionally nor just personal life. And we do a lot of meet up after work, where we just talk about our goals, talk about our future plans, talk about whatever. It always finds a different direction to talk about something deeper. And then I think somewhere, somehow, someone made a joke. I don't remember who, I don't know. Someone made a joke and say like, you know what, we talk so much, we could have just used this for a podcast. Exactly. And then we were just laughing and all of that. It's just so funny. To me at that time, I wasn't sure if we're really on the same page, because I really took it a little serious. I think that when I got home, like I need to check if this is possible. I need to look what do we need to do, what are the equipments we need to start with, what are the things that we cannot talk about, and all of that. So I look into it, and as I said, at that time I wasn't sure if we're on the same page. So I also had a moment of thinking that, oh, you know what if I just do this alone and then present it to Ali, and if it works, then maybe we can do it together. And then there's just more questions that came up than answers, like, yeah, what are you gonna talk about, who are you gonna talk to with, what are the topics that you're gonna talk about. Yeah, also it's not fun. So I'm like, you know what, yeah, dump that. And I think the more just we meet each other with this after work kind of meetups, it's just became reality. It seems close to what we think it is. So why not we just do it? Because we always have this need to do something out of work and out of our normal routine. And I think podcasting is just the way to do it, because it just makes sense with who we are and what we are in at that moment.
Yeah, we cannot stand still, basically.
No,
that's not us.
No. What about you? What's the view for you?
I think it's pretty similar. So we always had that need to do something very productive with our time, having always something in the background when we do something else, chores or sporting or whatsoever. Something else that by starting to hang out more with each other, we also started thinking of starting something together, a project, for example. That was a bit how we started, more related to our careers. But at some point it kind of shifted towards more a creative direction. And because that is also something that we are also creative people. With little time to be creative though. But that's also something that is
find time. We always find time.
Now yes. Yeah, so that's a bit how we started. So we started talking indeed about a podcast at some point, and everything kind of fell into place. And at the same time, you also had that experience of listening and watching the podcast Bad Friends, where you actually realize, oh, it is possible. So that all together brought us here basically today.
It's just so funny that it just started with to me it's just started with nothing. We just want to meet up, that's it. I'm not saying that we are big now or doing something now. It's just
who knows,
but who knows, but
we just do it because we enjoy doing it.
We just like talking, period. That's it.
That's us.
All right, so for the next one, I would like to ask you, what or who are the inspiration of our podcast of MediterrAsian?
Definitely Jay Shetty. I mean, we mentioned him 700 times in this so far.
Yep.
So Jay Shetty is more of a coaching type of podcast, calm, reflective, with a focus on mindfulness and purpose, finding purpose in life. And also Mel Robbins, definitely also her needs to be mentioned. Her podcast is high energy. Yeah. She is, if you need a pep talk, that's the person that you need to go to. That's the podcast that you need to press play. It's very motivational. So also in the morning, if you are on the bike, that's really great to listen.
That's a very good timing to listen to podcasts, actually.
Definitely.
It's funny because when you listen to Mel Robbins, you want to listen to it early in the morning. And for Jay Shetty, before you go to bed, it's more of a downtime kind of reflective kind of podcast. But yeah, it's really, they work hand in hand.
They combine each other in that sense. Also other podcasts, more lifestyle, more easygoing, where people talk about their life, their experiences. That's also something that definitely influenced this podcast. But these are very various. So for me, there are some podcasts that are in Italian, others that are in English. Same for you. You have a lot of other English podcasts as well as Filipino. So that's a mix. What about you?
For me, indeed, everyone or everything that you have mentioned, indeed, they are public figures or they are really an inspiration for us. But this would sound weird, I hope not. But I think for me, the actual inspiration for the MediterrAsian, or just the name and the brand in itself, is just about us. It's us. It's literally two friends, Italian, Filipina, who just wants to talk. Period. It's really it's really about us, about who we are, our stories, our experiences, about our life abroad that is very new. And I still believe that we are still in a very discovery phase. Yeah. That there's a lot of things that we don't know, but we're very intrigued to know a lot about, indeed, navigating life abroad, navigating friendships while you're away from your friends back home, learning how to love yourself a little better, how to appreciate yourself a little better. It's just a lot of things at once that we're actually genuinely experiencing. And that really inspired me in a sense that we've been talking about it so much for today, but it's really about, you're not alone in this. And I think everyone, including you and me, felt that one way or the other. So talking about it more, for sure, kind of help as of some sort. In my head is, the vision is to make these weird feelings normal. Because I think when we are having these negative feelings, we thought that it's us against the world kind of situation.
Yeah.
And I think the more you talk about it to someone who you know that understands it, or also the same phase that you're going through, it kind of makes you realize or humbles you that, hey, you're not alone in this.
Yeah, normalizing certain situations.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm struggling, you're struggling. It's normal. It's just how human works, and that's how feelings work, and that is valid. I think that to me is the entire inspiration of MediterrAsian, is just to talk about normalizing things.
So would you say that this is a bit what's in for people to listen to our podcast?
I think definitely. To build on just what I just mentioned earlier, it's really more about validating the feelings that someone might be having, We're not here to teach people. We're no experts.
No, definitely not.
No, we're not here to influence people, because we have very small following. Also, we're just starting our life in social media or whatever. We're just literally two people who would like to share our experiences and our stories to everyone who wants to listen. And the goal is to maybe inspire people to take the leap, whatever that is for someone, because of course it varies, to maybe build a community, to build a sense of belonging, or maybe again just for pure entertainment. Maybe they're bored and they want to fold the laundry, and maybe they want to hear something or listen to two people. Maybe that could be us. And to me, that's really a bonus for me. I believe there's no single reason why people would want to listen to us. I just hope that when people listened, they would find something relatable onto their lives or a moment of their lives. And the rest that follows, for me, is just bonus. It's extra.
That's very nicely put.
Yeah. And how about you?
Well, I think that our conversation are honest talks about navigating life and identity in a new country. So we are not originals from here.
Yeah.
So a bit about our experience, life, and something that could help somebody else as well navigating the same phase, and indeed taking the leap to make decisions like that.
Yeah.
But also people can find us sharing awkward moments or cultural misunderstanding, as well as fun misunderstanding in the Netherlands, as well as if people like us feel in bit in between. That is also something that they could find something useful in this podcast. But at the same time, also fun events or fun experiences of two girls in their 30s in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
So international girls. So definitely very, very honest and a real life experience.
Yeah, but I think also I hope that they're gonna see that there are some topics that would be a little too heavy, maybe a little too emotional, but you and I know that it needs to be discussed, and we need to talk about it again to normalize it, validate the feeling.
Yeah, some things might be easier than others, definitely.
Exactly. So that leads us to our last question. What are the topics listeners can expect from us? What do you think?
Well, definitely the real stuff. That is a bit our podcast, as well as challenges that we face that people might relate to, as well as those eye-opener moments of two international girls in the Netherlands, basically. And we will share various experiences, such as navigating the pressure that other people put on us, and versus our own choices, for example. Or we want to also explore our professional identity in a different country than our own, and also thinking of how you need to constantly explain sometimes where you are really from to other people, and
that's
maybe
true.
also that feeling of guilt at times of your own culture. So really everything that is real, that it's going on in people's daily life and our daily life, definitely in a new country.
Yeah, indeed. For me, it's also the same. It's just a lot of truth. I think maybe it's our truth, because I don't want to generalize people's experiences. It's more of like our truth, our own experiences, our own stories, and just hoping that they do find something relatable, that aha moment. Really, this is just a dream or a goal for me. I just really hope that the message or this podcast would come out as if like the listeners are listening to one of their besties, maybe leaving them a voice note, telling them about their day, telling them about the stories and experiences that they had. And I really hope that's how the message would come out. To me, that's the goal. That's the final goal.
And I hope that our listeners will feel that too. Definitely.
Yeah, I think if we stick to our genuine selves, for sure.
Great. Then with this ending with a high note, our episode, we are at the end. Well, we will check the photo that we snapped at the beginning. We really want to thank you guys for being here today, for joining our second episode.
We hope to see you next time, and have a good day.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.